All right. So now we have completed how to do the operations, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, functions. We talked about the composite functions, put a function inside of a function. And then we've also talked about evaluating them using those two functions or those functions, operations, and the composite functions. So this time we're moving forward to evaluating them, but now this time we're using graphs and tables. So can you evaluate using a graph? Can you analyze what the graph is saying? Can you analyze what the table is saying and find values from it? All right, so here comes our example one. Oh, example two. There, example one. So from example one here, we're going to go ahead and look at these graphs. So first off, before you do anything, I want you to graph these out and do them as accurately as possible. And we're going to do A, B, C, and D here all together. So with that, again, go ahead and graph this out as accurate as possible. And then we're going to come back and we're going to go ahead and work on each one of these. All right, so looking at this, I blew up the graph here so that everybody can see it. So it's a little bit easier so that when we break it apart, do this, you can kind of see what's going on. So here we're taking a look at both functions here, and we're going to add them for the first one. We're going to subtract, we're going to multiply here, and then we're going to divide here. So first off, remember back what we talked about already. We said we're going to break them apart. So you do f of x plus g of x. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do f of 2 plus g of 2. I'm going to do this for each one of them. So I'm going to do that first, and then I'm going to come back and actually do the work for it. So again, remember, each time we do this, we can break it apart so that we're dealing with the two functions individually. So again, all we did was just break them apart. So it deals with what we've been talking about, what we did when it came to yesterday's notes. So the notes when we talk about evaluating operations. All right, so the operations of functions. All right, so let's take a look at this. Remembering each one of these parts, we said that whenever we deal with this, this tells us x equals 2, and we need to find out what y is equal to. Same thing here. When x equals 2, what is y equal to? Only difference is this one's looking at the f of x function, this one's looking at the g of x function. So looking at that part, and let me zoom in a little bit more so everybody can see. All right, so looking at that, if we take a look at the f of 2, so we have to look at the f function, which is this portion right here. So when x equals 2, so this is your x-axis right here, x-axis. So when x equals 2, what is your y value? And in this case, it's at 0 because when x equals 2, your y doesn't go up or down, it's just at 0. So here, we would say this is 0. So f of 2 equals 0. Now put this off to the side. And again here, when you do this, you don't actually have to do this step I'm doing right now. If you want to, you can, but you don't have to. All right. When it comes to g of 2, so here x equals 2, your y value is 2. So when x equals 2, you go to the graph, and the y value there is 2. So technically, we're doing f of 2 plus g of 2. So f of 2 plus g of 2 equals 2. And so just the final portion of it. And that's our answer. That's all we're looking at. So the graph part shouldn't be that bad, I hope. All right, so let's go to the next one. Again, we're saying when x equals 3 this time, what is your y value? And when x equals 3 here, what is your y value? So looking at the f function and the g function. We'll put this up here. Put that there. All right, so here, if we take a look at the f function here, when x equals 3, so 1, 2, 3, when x is 3, what is your y value? So we have a dot right there, so that's y equals 2. So 3 for x and y equals 2. All right, and so here we get 2. So we'll put that down here. All right, and then for the g of x function here, it says g of 3. So when x equals 3, so 1, 2, 3, that's your x value. Go up, and we get to a point right here. So it's at 1. Now the biggest thing is when we get to the functions that we're doing right now, when it comes to these graphs, you won't have multiple answers to it. It should only be one answer for the y value. All right, so here again, that gave us 3 and 1, so y is equal to 1. So we do 2 minus 1, and we get 1. All right, so your final answer needs to be written like this. All right, cool. So we're going to keep moving forward. We got this next one here. So here again, when x equals 1, what is your y value? When x equals 1 for g, what is your y value? Doing the exact same process over and over again every time. So don't overthink this, or don't try to do anything to try to make this hard. Please don't, because it's not hard. It really is not a hard thing. All right, so here, when we look at it, we look at the f of x function here. When x equals 1, your y value is 2. Right? And then g of x, when it equals 1, when x equals 1 here, your g function goes to y equaling 3. So 1 equals 1, and that's 3. So we'll do 2 times 3, which is 6. And so f times g of 1 equals 6. Simple, easy, not hard. We got this. All right, so the last one is f of 1 over g of 1. And we just found f of 1 and g of 1 already. So we have 2 over 3. So f of 1 we said was 2. G of 1 is 3. And so just rewriting this again. And yes, this step must be done every time, because you need to write out what your answer is equal to. So I want to see what's in the green part here, equal to an n number answer. So make sure you show your work for it though. All right, so that is just graphs. That's evaluating it, operations with graphs. So the next example we're going to do deals with our evaluating composite functions with graphs also.